This changes everything for the Los Angeles Lakers as we have some huge new reports as it pertains to the Lakers injuries, including one huge report from Shams that changes everything going forward. We're going to break that down and discuss what it means for the Lakers, as well as a few other updates ahead of their next game. But before we get into it, folks, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, but 90% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support. It has been unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to go over today. The Lakers coming off of 4 losses in a row, but they put up a valiant effort against the Denver Nuggets in yesterday's game. But there's a lot to go over today. Now, a bunch of different reports are coming out. We know that the Lakers are dealing with a ton of injuries. They had Dorian Finney-Smith out yesterday, Gabe Vincent, LeBron James, everybody, Luka Doncic. We have a few updates there, and I want to start with a couple things. Then we'll dive into Dalton Knecht's injury a little bit later. We can see here his head and back are apparently okay. But I want to start with this. So Shams was on the Pat McAfee show. That was Shams, of course, Shams Charania, and he says that LeBron James' groin is expected to miss at least another week per Shams. Now, this is big for a few different reasons, because initially we had all thought that he was going to be back. You know, you might take 3 to 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever it ends up being, right, depending on how severe you thought the injury was. But then it changed from week to week and then to day. And then now Shams came out and said he's going to miss at least another week. Now, we know, I covered it in yesterday's video, that LeBron, Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes all went back to LA. They were not on the road trip with the Lakers against the Milwaukee Bucks and the Denver Nuggets. They weren't on that road trip in order to prepare. And again, we heard that they were day to day. Now, Shams has come out and revealed that LeBron's going to miss at least another week. Now, this still lines up with the timeline of 1 to 2 weeks that Shams gave out initially in the report a week or so ago. But it seems now he's going to be out until at least, and we'll dive into the schedule, probably late March. And that seems to be the timeline for LeBron. However, we do have another report here from Redick. He spoke out and revealed something very interesting, so stay tuned for that. But as it pertains to LeBron James, it's going to be interesting. We saw in yesterday's game when Redick said that he will play every Laker in uniform, Bronny, all these guys, even Cam Reddish will be in line for minutes for the first time in months. We saw what the team is like without LeBron, without Luka Doncic, and Luka should be good for the next game, which is obviously a good sign. I'm not saying he won't be. But when it comes to LeBron, you want him to be healthy for the playoffs. And I've been saying this over and over again on the channel. You absolutely want him to be healthy for the playoffs. And as you look at the games upcoming, right? They played Denver. They lost that game. You play Phoenix on March 16th, which is tomorrow. LeBron's going to miss that game, especially according to Shams' report. You're hoping Luka will be ready for that along with a bunch of the other starters. But you have a little bit of a break for a couple games. Phoenix and San Antonio are not playing good ball. San Antonio obviously has De'Aaron Fox now out for the season. Victor Wembanyama out for the season and for the foreseeable future. You have a chance to make up a little bit of ground here. And if you can get healthy, specifically as it pertains, and I was speaking about maybe the Friday, the Wednesday for LeBron to return, maybe the Sunday of March 23rd. But again, he came out and said he's going to miss another week. However, that was contradicted a little bit by Redick here. He said on Hayes, Hachimura, and LeBron possibly returning within the next week, whether it's 2 days or 7. They're all very close to returning. So shout out to the reporter who asked this question, because they were obviously bouncing off of the fact that Shams said that he's going to miss at least another week. Redick saying they're all very close to returning. Now, I would say Shams is right. He is going to miss another week. But as it pertains to Hayes and Hachimura, it seems that though they're all very close, whether it's 2 days or 7 days, by the game that we just discussed on, say, March 23rd or March 24th, obviously back-to-back against two pretty, Chicago's not a good team. Orlando's good at times, a decent team. This is a perfect opportunity to get everybody back and then have a really nice runway to get healthy, to get ready to go before, of course, you head into the playoffs, which is hopefully going to avoid the play-in game, which we'll dive into in a little bit here. But this is very, very encouraging for him to say they're all very close to returning, because LeBron, we kind of know in a timeline, and obviously he's such a big player that we are getting constant updates from Shams and things like that. But the impact of Hayes and Hachimura cannot be understated. Jackson Hayes looks way better with Luka Doncic, of course, but Luka Doncic has looked a lot better when he's had a center to roll. We saw it with Christian Koloko in last night's game. He looked fantastic. And Jackson Hayes now, if you can get him back, and then you maybe miss up the lineups a little bit, mix them up with Christian Koloko playing the backup 5 a little bit, all these different things, right? You are now, and Rui Hachimura is back in the mix. Your starters are now perfect. And obviously you want them to rest, you want them to be fully healthy, but this was maybe been a blessing in disguise for a lot of these guys, because they've been working, obviously hard the whole year. But if you have Rui Hachimura fully rested and healthy, LeBron James fully rested and healthy for some time late next week into the week after, you're in pretty good shape. But the issue with that is, and here's the thing that we got to discuss a little bit now. Again, they're all very close to returning, which is a fantastic sign. They're not going to miss any playoff games. Shams says LeBron is going to be out another week, which is fine. The problem is now the Lakers with 4 straight losses have fallen down to the 5 seed, but the Warriors right on their tail with the LeBron or with the Jimmy Butler acquisition. I think they're 13-3 or 13-1 since acquiring Jimmy Butler. Regardless of that, right? They're in a fantastic spot. And you now have to avoid that 7 seed, which is the play-in spot. And the Lakers are about 2 games, I mean, a bit more than that. They're a little bit ahead, right? They're 3.5 games, or 2.5 games technically ahead of the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? So you're in a fine spot. But you need to mix, obviously, health. Of course, that's the number one priorities. LeBron, all these guys being healthy for the playoffs. But you also need to pair that with, if they are ready to go and they are healthy, you need to get them in some of these games. Because you can assume they're all going to miss the Phoenix and San Antonio game. If you can start, targeting maybe the game on Friday, I'm not sure they're going to want to, maybe Rui Hachimura makes his return for March 19th and things like that. But you need to be fully healthy going into Friday, Sunday's game, or at least you have to hope, because these games matter a lot. Now, whether that's Denver locking up the 2 seed, I'm not as worried about the 2 seed at this point. It's a little bit not out of reach necessarily. You're 2 games back, but with the way the injuries are, with the way the Lakers are playing, it's in an interesting spot when it pertains to the 2 seed. But if you can get all of these guys healthy, play them in games, avoid that play-in spot. We don't want to see the Lakers do what they always do and head into the playoff spot. They've been playing good basketball, and whether or not, again, they lost 4 in a row. They've been dealing with a bunch of injuries. It's fine. Get LeBron healthy. Get Rui Hachimura healthy. Get Jackson Hayes healthy, right? You get all these guys healthy. You line them up to give them some runway into the end of the season. But runway aside, you need to line these guys up to play good basketball going forward, because you need to win these games. Like, obviously, the regular season, we all know as Lakers, like, we're going to make the playoffs, obviously. You'd hope, at least. You want to avoid the play-in game, and so many other teams are winning a ton of games. Minnesota, 7 in a row. Warriors, 6 in a row. Like, it's a good time for these injuries. Never a good time for injuries to happen, but it's about as good of a time as you could assume for injuries to happen, given the fact that they're not going to miss playoff games. But as it pertains to other teams winning and you plummeting down in the standings, it's a bit of a scary, scary time simply because of all the other teams that are in there and winning. But it's okay. The team is going to be good. Everything will be fine. I'm pretty confident in that. You had a great game against the Denver Nuggets. You could have easily won with your, third string players alongside, of course, Reaves and Dalton Knecht. And speaking of yesterday's game, Reaves spoke out on what he took away from the Lakers road trip. Went 0-4, so it's a pretty bad trip. But a week ago, like JJ said, everybody was saying Lakers in 5, so we don't pay attention to any of it. Calling out the media a little bit there. It's fair enough. Everyone's very reactionary with these things. I think the Lakers had a pretty bad road trip. They went 0-4, obviously, but I think they've been playing fine ball as of late. Now, you've been dealing with some injuries. You don't have LeBron. You don't have Rui Hachimura. LeBron James is, his impact on the defensive end especially can't be understated. Same thing with Jackson Hayes, right? You're in a very interesting spot now to where, Jackson Hayes was out, LeBron was out, Rui was out, Gabe Vincent was out, Dorian Finney-Smith was out. So against the Nuggets, for them to even be close in that game was a fantastic showing. And I think ultimately with this team, LeBron, this update's fantastic. Everything is going to be good. And these updates are very, they change everything because you need to, A, avoid the play-in spot, but B, make a strong push for that 3-4 seed. Get as favorable of a matchup as you possibly can. And you're going to have to, juggle that with the injuries that are happening. One final thing before we wrap up here is Dalton Knecht. His injury, his head and back apparently are okay following a scary fall off of a dunk. He seemed to slip off of the rim there, but that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens going forward. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.